When you look around our world right now, it feels like something fundamental is shifting. And not quietly. Storms are louder, markets are shakier, and the systems we've trusted for decades suddenly feel a whole lot more fragile. And that's exactly why the G20 gathering in Johannesburg this year isn't just another global conference, it's a turning point. Not because of the usual speeches or handshakes, but because, for the first time in a long time, the world's biggest economies are being forced to confront the same uncomfortable truth. Nature has entered the room, and it refuses to be ignored. Before we dive deeper, if you find this kind of geopolitical storytelling valuable, go ahead and like this video and share it with someone who follows global affairs. It really helps push this work to more viewers. Now, imagine the scene. Inside the summit halls, everything is polished and controlled. Outside, chaos. Hurricane Melissa has just wiped out nearly half of Jamaica's yearly economic output in a single night. Cyclone FINA is spinning toward northern Australia with the kind of intensity that meteorologists used to call once in a century, except now it's every year and a half. These disasters aren't just humanitarian tragedies. They are economic shockwaves that hit supply chains, banking systems, and even retirement funds. This G20 isn't about abstract climate talk. It's about survival math. And in the middle of this storm, both literal and financial, one voice is cutting through the noise with unusual clarity. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney. If you've followed global finance for any length of time, you know Carney isn't a typical politician. He's a former central banker with a reputation for seeing trouble before it hits. And in Johannesburg, he's not mincing words. He's telling leaders something they don't want to hear. The global financial system is entering an uninsurable era. Let that sink in. When homes can't be insured, banks can't issue mortgages. When banks can't issue mortgages, property values collapse. And when that happens, financial systems buckle. That's how a storm in the Caribbean ends up damaging pension funds in Europe or triggering bank failures in Asia. Everything is connected. Carney is pushing for something radical but also surprisingly simple. Global financial shock absorbers. Think of them as buffers, structures designed to stop a climate event in one corner of the world from igniting a financial crisis everywhere else. Canada believes this requires unlocking trillions in private capital because governments are tapped out and the clock is ticking. And here's the part that's catching everyone's attention. Canada isn't framing this as charity. It's not helping the poor. It's protecting the system. If Jamaica collapses or if Darwin goes offline for months, the ripple effects hit everyone. Canada is positioning stability, not oil, not minerals, as its greatest export. And frankly, it's working. Even countries skeptical of climate commitments are listening, because Carney speaks in a language they all understand: risk. Now, here's a hook worth sitting with for a moment. Canada isn't just talking about transitioning to clean energy. They're talking about rewiring the entire decision-making engine of the global economy. In their view, every loan, every investment, every business plan must now account for climate risk. Not because it's nice, but because ignoring it is financially suicidal. At this point in the summit, Canada starts unveiling something even bolder: a push to embed climate goals inside the financial system itself. Not through political promises, which can change after every election, but through the plumbing of the markets. Bank reporting standards, insurance risk models, investment guidelines. If the market sees high-carbon assets as too risky, money will naturally shift away from them. It's transition by design, not by debate. If you're watching this, I'd love to hear your perspective. Do you think financial markets should play a bigger role in managing climate risk, or is that giving too much power to banks and investors? Drop a comment. I'm really interested in how viewers think about this. Now, let's go back inside the summit rooms for a moment. There's a reason Canada's voice is louder this year. The venue itself, South Africa, is a symbol, a country familiar with hardship, renewal, and uneven transitions. Hosting the G20 here forces wealthy nations to face realities they've often ignored, and Canada is aligning itself strategically with this narrative, offering not just empathy but frameworks and financing models that developing nations desperately need. This is where Canada's strategy becomes almost elegant. They're proposing ways to channel capital to the places most vulnerable: coastal regions, agricultural belts, fragile energy grids. And they're doing it by reducing risk for private investors so money can actually flow where it's needed. It's not glamorous work. It's not headline grabbing. But it's the kind of behind-the-scenes engineering that determines whether societies survive the next decade of turbulence. Carney has a phrase he repeats often: resilience is the ability to take a punch and stay standing. Right now, the global economy has a glass jaw, and you can sense the room stiffen when he says it. Now, let's pull back a little. Why is Canada suddenly the adult in the room? Part of it is geography. Canada knows extreme weather. Part of it is identity. Canadians are used to balancing pragmatism and long-term thinking. But a big part is Carney himself, a rare figure who understands both the mechanics of global finance and the consequences of political inaction. What he's explaining to the G20 is simple. Without a plan, the transition to a low-carbon world will be chaotic. Energy prices will spike, supply chains will tangle, millions will be pushed into poverty, and political stability will crack. With a plan, the transition can be orderly. Workers can be retrained, infrastructure can be upgraded, and capital can move rationally instead of panicking. In the side meetings, the ones that never make news, Canada's delegation is grinding through technical details: insurance models, risk disclosures, investment mandates, and coordination rules. These aren't flashy topics, but they will shape everything from food prices to job markets. Of course, resistance exists. Oil-rich economies, corporations profiting from the old model, countries stuck in political cycles that reward short-term thinking. But nature doesn't negotiate, and Carney's message is blunt. Reality will win eventually. As we approach the final stretch of the summit, Canada starts highlighting something many leaders avoid discussing: the protection gap. In developing nations, 80–90% of disaster losses are uninsured. That means millions of people lose everything with no financial safety net. Canada is pushing to close this gap through blended finance, where public money helps de-risk private investments, making insurance and adaptation accessible even in poorer regions. And underneath all this strategy is a simple human truth. The people suffering most from climate disasters had the least to do with causing them. This brings us to something Canada calls the Great Reallocation, the movement of capital away from dying industries and toward future-proof ones. This shift is happening whether governments act or not. The only choice is whether it's managed and humane or violent and destructive. Canada's pitch is clear: we can control the transition, or the transition will control us. There's a quiet moment at the summit, one of those rare pauses, after Carney lays out the cost difference between prevention and reconstruction. Prevention is expensive. Reconstruction is crippling. The numbers speak louder than any speech. And as we near the conclusion of this story, the stakes become painfully clear. The storms hitting Jamaica and the threats looming over Australia aren't isolated incidents. They're previews, signals, warnings. And Canada is stepping up with a blueprint that, if followed, could prevent global financial freefall. If you've stayed with me to this point, thank you. And before we wrap up completely, please like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss upcoming deep dives. It helps the channel grow and keeps this analysis possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.